Johan and I have been together for 10 years. Today, both our families are having dinner together to finalize our engagement. Johan had been on vacation the past couple of days, but last night, he suddenly said there was an urgent issue at a branch office that needed his attention. He asked me to wait for him. At 11 in the morning, I called Johan. We're about to have lunch. Can you make it back in time? The branch office wasn't far, a little over an hour's drive from the neighboring city. I could hear some noise on his end. I probably won't make it back by lunch. Just wait for me, I promise I'll be back tonight. All right, I said, hanging up. But my heart was sinking, little by little. Soon after, I stumbled upon his assistant's Instagram post. Which boss is this sweet? Visiting an employee at the hospital on Valentine's Day. Oh, turns out it's my boss. The picture? A bouquet of roses. Johan's executive assistant had told me he ordered a bouquet of roses for me. But now, they were sitting by someone else's bedside. Today marks 10 years since we got together. At 4 in the afternoon, I called him again. He didn't pick up. I decided to wait. I didn't want to go upstairs and face my parents alone. He'll definitely come back tonight. Both our families had dinner together. By 8 o'clock, I sent Johan's parents home. But I couldn't bring myself to go back to my own house. The winter wind stung my face. I pulled my hat down, rubbed my hands together, and sat on a bench by the roadside. I'll wait. Maybe he'll be back soon. The air felt colder and colder. When I looked up, I realized it had started drizzling without me noticing. Suddenly, an umbrella appeared over my head. I turned slightly and saw Sean, a neighbor from the same complex. His cheeks were a bit flushed, and he seemed a little nervous. I just got off work at the flower shop. We had some leftover flowers, so I thought I'd give these to you. I glanced at his pajamas and slippers. He must have noticed how out of place he looked, because before I could refuse, he shoved the umbrella and flowers into my arms and dashed off into the rain. A few moments later, he came running back, a little out of breath, with a hint of sweat on his forehead. This time, he held a hot water bottle, a few hand warmers, and a soft scarf. Without giving me a chance to refuse, he wrapped the scarf around my neck twice and stuffed the hot water bottle into my hands. If someone isn't worth waiting for, maybe you shouldn't wait, he said. I didn't know how to respond, but then he sighed, looking a little defeated. Forget it. It's none of my business anyway. With that, he magically pulled out a warm drink from behind him, stuck a straw in, and handed it to me. The rain stopped after a little while. He wanted to stay and wait with me, but I sent him home. He looked annoyed. Any guy who keeps you waiting this long doesn't deserve to be your boyfriend. When I didn't reply, he sighed again. Whatever. If the hot water bottle gets cold, I'll bring you another one, he added before finally leaving. I met Sean because he often delivered flowers to me. He owned a flower shop. After one of his employees delivered the wrong bouquet, he started handling my orders personally. He was still in college, but ran the flower shop successfully. He was charming, and his flowers were always perfect. Over time, we became familiar with each other. He knew I had a long-term boyfriend and that we were planning to get married, so our relationship never crossed any boundaries, until tonight. The warmth from the hot water bottle was fading. I checked the time, it was already midnight. My body felt stiff, and my heart felt just as numb. Then, I saw a figure approaching from the street corner. He seemed to be in a hurry, but when his eyes landed on me, his expression softened. He casually picked up the flowers beside me. These are for me, right? Why are you waiting outside in this cold weather? He asked, reaching out to pull me into his arms. The unfamiliar scent of perfume on him made me feel sick, and I instinctively pulled away. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Sean glancing back at me with a hurt expression. These flowers aren't for you, I said, snatching them back. Someone else gave them to me. Johan thought I was just being petty and chuckled, wrapping an arm around me as we headed home. The lights in the house were bright, allowing me to clearly see the fresh mark on his neck. I lowered my gaze, swallowing my sadness. I asked, Johan, do you remember what yesterday was? Yesterday was our 10th anniversary. I still remembered the way his eyes sparkled when he first pursued me. Alice, I know you want a home. Just wait for me, I'll work hard. In 10 years, I promise I'll give you the home of your dreams. Now, 10 years had passed. Johan ruffled my hair and pulled out a necklace. I know yesterday was our engagement day. I'm sorry I was late. I glanced at the necklace. The pendant had an engraved letter L. Linda. His secretary. Johan, what does the L stand for? I asked. His expression froze for a split second before he quickly said, it's probably the brand's logo. I thought it suited you, so I bought it. I smiled faintly. I don't like it. You should give it to Linda, she'd probably love it. At the mention of her name, panic flashed across his face. What are you talking about? He asked. I was still hoping he would be honest with me. Don't you trust me? We've been together for 10 years, you know what kind of person I am, he added. Hearing his words, I suddenly felt nothing but exhaustion. I was too tired to argue. My mind didn't want to process it anymore, so I chose the easiest way to end the conversation. I trust you, I said. Hearing that, he finally relaxed. After my shower, he warmed up some milk for me and even helped dry my hair. Just like always, he sat by my bed and told me a bedtime story in his gentle voice. But as I listened, I realized I no longer recognized the man in front of me. I didn't understand how he could act so loving while his heart was drifting farther and farther away. I narrowed my eyes as he finished the story. He stayed by my side for a long time and I lay there wide awake. I couldn't help but remember the bright-eyed boy from our school days, the one who promised to give me a home. Finally, I spoke. Johan, we've been together for 10 years. I kept my eyes closed, too afraid to meet his gaze. After a long silence, he said, we've been through so much together, Alice. We're perfect for each other. But the company is at a crucial stage right now, you understand, right? Can we wait 2 more years to get married? I opened my eyes and sat up. After a long pause, I finally gave in. I understand, I said. Johan smiled, ruffled my hair, and walked away with a spring in his step. The moment I saw him walking briskly, it felt like my love for him was leaving with each step, eventually disappearing without a trace. I want to get married. I want a place I can call my own. Johan and I have been together for 10 years, he knows how much I long for a home of my own. But he told me to wait 2 more years. 10 years, we've been together for 10 years. How many decades does a person get in a lifetime? It's impossible between Johan and me now. The next day, Johan went to the branch office again. And I saw Linda's Instagram. Back to work right after getting discharged. But my boss is pretty nice, he was worried about me still being injured, so he took me out for breakfast himself. The picture showed Johan eating while looking at Linda, his eyes full of tenderness. I found it a little ironic. I tried to stay calm. I wanted to end our decade-long relationship with dignity. But while I was thinking about breaking up gracefully, he was already rushing back in the middle of the night to keep his precious secretary company. Because, of course, she couldn't possibly eat breakfast alone. When I called him, it took a long time for Johan to pick up. I could still hear Linda's sweet voice in the background when he did. He was still talking to her, his voice soft and filled with a warmth I hadn't heard in a long time. But when he turned to speak to me, his tone went cold and detached. I'm busy right now. Text me if you need something. So, I texted him, Johan, let's break up. He didn't reply for a long time. But I knew him too well. He definitely saw the message. He just couldn't be bothered to respond, after all, he had someone new and exciting by his side. He had nothing to worry about. We've been together for 10 years, after all. I was the perfect girlfriend, never making a scene, always handling my emotions quietly. As long as he brought me a gift later, I would let everything slide. Even after that message, we still communicated as usual about work. Johan replied to my work-related texts as if nothing had happened. And I never mentioned anything outside of business again. I listed the apartment we shared for sale through a real estate agent and started looking for capable managers to take over some of my responsibilities at work. Maybe it was the stress catching up to me, but on moving day, I started feeling unwell. Sean brought a few of his college friends to help me move. They were so enthusiastic that I couldn't stop them even if I wanted to. Halfway through, Sean noticed I was looking pale. He asked his friends to keep an eye on things and took me straight to the hospital. It turned out I had a fever. After getting in 4 drip, it was already late. But Sean, full of energy as always, took me to his flower shop and made some light food for me. At the end of the night, he even booked me a hotel room. With a bit of a pout, he said, "I wanted to take you to my place, but I figured you wouldn't want that." When we reached the hotel entrance, I laughed softly. College students these days sure are loaded. Sean puffed up proudly. "I can't compare to you, but I do all right." I was still smiling when my expression froze. Linda was there, holding Johan's arm, looking sweet and charming. After sending that breakup text, I had blocked Linda's Instagram. I didn't even know Johan had come back. I let out a bitter laugh. Blocking her didn't stop reality from moving on without me. I couldn't help but glance at them. Johan's face was soft with a smile, and his eyes were filled with Linda. Hidden in the shadows, I knew he didn't see me. Even though I had been preparing myself to let go, my heart still ached at that moment. I lowered my gaze, blinking back tears as my heart slowly grew numb. But Sean couldn't hold back his anger. His eyes burned with it. I tried to stop him, but I couldn't match his youthful impulsiveness. He stormed over and swung a punch at Johan. One punch wasn't enough, he threw 2 more for good measure. With disdain in his voice, Sean said, "You're not good enough for Alice." Johan wasn't the type to back down. He fought back, his punches landing hard and fast, aiming directly at Sean's weak spots. I frowned and stepped in to break them apart. "Enough," I said sharply. "Johan, stop." I pulled Sean away. Linda, already fussing over Johan, touched his face, with concern, before shooting us a hateful glare. Sean was still seething, wanting to go back for more. "Stop it," I snapped. "Sean, he and I are over. Whoever he takes to a hotel is none of my business." I never spared Johan a glance as I spoke. I turned to leave with Sean, but Johan suddenly panicked and blocked my way. "Is there something else, Mr. Johan?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Need me to call the police for your little street fight?" My cold, detached tone made him falter for a moment. His gaze flicked briefly to Sean, and I could tell, he didn't see this young man as any real competition. His expression cooled again. "I'll explain everything later, Alice." His confidence was almost laughable. He really thought he could smooth things over with a simple excuse. Sean walked me to my hotel room but didn't step inside. I suggested taking him to the hospital to check his injuries. He'd been groaning in pain the whole way. But as soon as I mentioned the hospital, he immediately stopped complaining. "Honestly, it doesn't hurt that much," he said quickly. "You should get some rest. I'm young and strong, I'll be fine after a nap. If you're really worried, I can go to the hospital myself." His concern for me stirred something bittersweet in my heart. "Didn't it occur to you that you might lose the fight?" Sean grinned. "I don't care. Guys like him deserve a beating." Then, with sudden boldness, he pinned me against the wall. "Now that you're single, I'm officially going to pursue you." Sean wanted to book me a different hotel, but it was too late, I didn't want to bother. Not long after, Johan knocked on my door. "Alice, it's me," he said. "Open the door." I texted back, "It's late. Let's talk tomorrow." He knocked again and sent another message. "I have to leave early tomorrow. Let's talk now." For the sake of the 10 years we spent together, I decided to give him a proper goodbye. When I opened the door, Johan glanced around the room before his expression softened slightly. He spoke coldly. "I won't hold it against your friend for attacking me. I didn't tell you I was back because I had business to handle. I'm only here for one night. Someone was trying to bully Linda, I only pretended to be her boyfriend to protect her. We shared a suite, but we slept in separate rooms. Nothing happened between us." I looked at Johan, disappointment welling up inside me. In such a large branch office, he had multiple assistants, why did it have to be Linda? And didn't he realize? The more he explained, the guiltier he sounded. I was just about to speak when his phone rang again. He declined the call twice. But the other person kept calling back. I accidentally caught a glimpse of the name on the screen, Linda. I smiled, "Go ahead and answer it." Johan eventually picked up the call. A panicked voice came from the other end, Johann. As soon as he answered, he walked toward the window, and I couldn't catch the rest of the conversation. But the urgency and worry on his face were impossible to hide. When Johann hung up, he turned back to look at me. Alice, you know you're the one I love the most. The anxiety in his eyes, for another woman, almost made me laugh. I knew what he looked like when he truly loved me. Saying these hollow words while his eyes were filled with concern for someone else, it was disgusting. We've already broken up. Let's avoid seeing each other in private, it'll only cause misunderstandings. Johann stood up. He looked at me. Don't be upset. Linda's dealing with something urgent. I'll make it up to you when I get back. I smiled. Sure, go ahead. Hearing my agreement, Johann couldn't wait to leave. I watched him rush off, full of concern for someone else. At that moment, I felt a strange sense of numbness, an eerie calm washing over me. From then on, nothing about Johann could stir any feelings within me. Just as I was about to close the door across the hall opened, and a head popped out. Sean cracked his knuckles. Want me to go beat him up again? I tapped his forehead lightly. Cut it out. Go to bed. After moving into my new place and tidying up, I treated Sean and his roommates to a hot pot dinner. Just as we finished eating, I received a call from the wedding dress designer. She sounded a bit anxious. Miss Alice, could you come by to confirm the final adjustments? My mentor thinks the dress I made is an embarrassment to her reputation, she wants to guide me personally. Can you and your fiancé come over? I hesitated for a moment. I didn't have a fiancé anymore. But I'd already signed the contract, and it wasn't cheap. Sean's friends, overhearing the situation, eagerly offered suggestions. Just bring Sean along. He's always happy to help. Sean gave them a discreet thumbs up. Honestly, I'm the most helpful guy you'll ever meet. Send me the location, and we'll head over now. And just like that, I found myself in Sean's car. The designer, a former classmate of Johann's, looked surprised to see someone else by my side. Where's Johann? Did I catch you at a bad time? Hearing his name, my brow furrowed slightly, but my heart felt nothing. Calmly, I said, Johann and I broke up. The designer froze for a moment, clearly skeptical. But you two were together for 10 years. I cut her off and pulled Sean closer. Since we're here, adjust the measurements for his suit. She asked about my relationship with Sean. Sean, grinning like a peacock in full display, beamed. Isn't it obvious? I'm courting her. In the end, they made some tweaks to the design to better suit my style. Since Sean's measurements required more adjustments, the outfits would take another 2 months to complete. That night, Johann called me. I didn't answer and hung up immediately. He called several more times. Annoyed, I switched off my phone. At this point, the only thing left between us was work. Outside of office hours, there was nothing to say. One of my employees had recently been promoted to manager and was doing quite well. I had been gradually handing over my responsibilities. When most of the handover was complete, I called Johann. I've made some changes to the management structure at the head office. Just wanted to let you know. There was a pause on his end before he replied, got it. I exhaled softly. I'm planning to resign as the company's president. I've already found someone to take over. Of course, if you think they're not suitable, you can replace them. Johann hesitated. Alice, don't do this. I stayed silent, and eventually, he relented. The wedding is still on. Don't play games with the company. His words, like he was doing me a favor, made me feel nothing. In the past, I might have stayed quiet. But now, I didn't want to marry him. Not even a little. I'm not playing games. I just want some time to rest. The company's doing well, and I have no intention of giving up my shares. If I decide to sell them in the future, you'll be the first to know. Johann seemed about to say something else when I heard Linda's voice in the background. Hurriedly, he said, just focus on resting and preparing for the wedding. Then, he hung up. I stared at my phone and chuckled bitterly. Now that the company's affairs were settled, there was no reason to keep Johann in my life. I blocked and deleted all his contacts. After that, it seemed Johann finally realized I was serious about leaving him. I heard he'd been trying to find me lately. He even started having dinner at home again. He even visited my old place. I found it funny. So, he could make time to be home when he wanted to. I'd moved, and Johan couldn't find me. But he managed to corner me at my favorite restaurant. Seeing him during work hours was unexpected. Don't you have work to do? Johan relaxed the moment he saw me. Things have slowed down a bit. I wanted to spend more time with you. I heard the wedding attire is already finalized? I ignored him and walked inside, ordering my favorite pasta. Johan sat down beside me and ordered the same dish. We ate in silence. I couldn't help but remember how we used to sit together like this, years ago. Back then, just sharing a meal felt like the happiest thing in the world. But after the company started making serious money, he began to look down on things like pasta. He said it was beneath him. After breakfast the next morning, I received a call from my sister-in-law. My younger brother had been in a car accident and was hospitalized. I hesitated for a moment before saying, "I'll be there soon." Johan overheard and offered, "I have my car. I can drive you." "No need," I declined. I brought my car. I drove ahead, but Johan followed behind me. At the hospital, my parents greeted him warmly. "Why did you come?" "It's just a minor injury. No need to trouble yourself." I placed the fruit basket on the table. I heard about it, so I came to check in. I sat quietly while my parents fussed over my brother, feeling strangely out of place. But I had long since grown used to it. My parents had always favored my brother over me. They never deprived me materially, but emotionally, they were distant, constantly reminding me to take care of him. Sometimes, it felt like they forgot I even existed. The year I started college, my family bought a new house. I was thrilled and used my part-time earnings to contribute. But when I came home for winter break, I sat outside the door for hours, waiting for someone to come home. I had no key. And there was no room for me inside. My parents said matter-of-factly, "You're already in college, and you're rarely home anyway. Your brother needs a quieter space to study, so we turned your room into his study. The study is pretty spacious, and we even bought you a folding bed. You can just set it up and sleep there when you're home." At that moment, I suddenly understood. This house was never really my home. From that point on, I had an overwhelming desire to have a place of my own. A room that belonged to me. Someone who would truly love and care about me. Over the years, I made my own money, and my parents never asked me to support my brother. Our relationship felt more like distant relatives than family. My sister-in-law didn't know much about this, though. She invited me over and had me watch their happy little family. Johan was sitting nearby, and his presence made me feel a little less out of place. After a while, my phone rang, and I finally felt relieved. I smiled and said, "I have something to take care of. I should get going." My parents and brother just nodded in acknowledgement. Only my sister-in-law pulled me aside as I was leaving and asked if Johan and I had been fighting. I didn't respond and simply walked out of the hospital. Johan had always known how much I wanted a place to call my own. But after 10 years, he no longer wanted to give me that. And now, I no longer wanted to build a home with him either. Johan reached out, trying to hold my hand, but I quickly pulled away. His voice was filled with pain. "Alice, I love you. I really want to build a life with you, to love you, to cherish you. Can we still go ahead with our engagement?" I responded coldly, "It's too late. We've already broken up. Thanks for coming with me today. I know you're busy, and you took time out for me, but honestly, it just made me feel uncomfortable." As soon as I finished speaking, I spotted Sean riding his bike toward me. He had texted earlier, asking for my location. There was a bouquet of fresh flowers peeking out from his backpack. "These just arrived at the shop today, I thought you'd like them," he said with a smile. I took the flowers from him, and somehow, the heavy weight on my chest eased. Johan's expression changed the moment he saw me accept the bouquet. His face twisted with jealousy and frustration. He demanded, "What's going on between you two?" Before I could answer, Sean spoke up calmly, "Don't worry, Mr. Johan. There's nothing going on between Alice and me. After all, we're not living together, we're not holding hands, and we're certainly not leaving any intimate marks on each other's necks." It was obvious, Sean had overheard the argument Johan and I had that day at the hotel. Johan's face darkened even more. Just as he was about to speak, I grabbed Sean's hand. "He's my boyfriend," I said mockingly, locking eyes with Johan. "Unlike you, I'm not afraid to admit when I've moved on." I waved Sean closer and, without hesitation, pressed a soft kiss against his cheek. His face turned bright red, he looked like a freshly boiled lobster. I tossed my car keys to him. "Here, you drive." Sean stared at the keys in disbelief, his hands trembling slightly as he caught them. But a moment later, he handed them back. Maybe you should drive." "I'm afraid I might hit the gas instead of the brakes, I'm too excited." He slipped into the passenger seat, and I drove away, leaving Johan standing there, speechless. A few days later, Johan showed up at my apartment. His eyes were bloodshot, and the moment he saw me, he poured out his feelings. "Alice, I really want to marry you," he pleaded. "After everything we've been through, we're perfect for each other. You used to say that love could overcome anything. Why did we survive all those hard times only to fall apart now?" Before I could respond, Sean appeared from the kitchen, still wearing an apron and holding a spatula. "If I wasn't in the middle of cooking, I wouldn't have let you talk this much nonsense," Sean snapped. "Love can overcome a lot, but not cheating. You got your secretary pregnant and still have the audacity to talk about marrying Alice? Where do you get the nerve?" With that, Sean slammed the door shut. "Don't waste your energy on people like him," he muttered. "Just looking at him is bad luck." I couldn't help but smile at how effortlessly he put Johan in his place. Outside the door, Johan raised his voice, hoping I could still hear him. "Alice, don't listen to him. We're meant to be together, I won't let anyone take your place. He's just a kid. What can he possibly offer you? I only made a mistake that any man could make. For all you know, he'll turn out to be worse than me. I'm ready to marry you right now, can he say the same?" Sean flung the door open again, his patience wearing thin. "Don't compare yourself to actual human beings," he shot back. "She's beautiful and successful, what could you possibly give her? A title? Please. You couldn't even pay someone to put up with you." With another loud bang, Sean shut the door in Johan's face. Johan, furious and humiliated, started yelling outside. Sean simply called security, and before long, they escorted Johan off the premises. Later, while we were eating dinner, Sean looked a little worried. "I wasn't too harsh, was I? I'm usually not like that." I laughed softly. "I like you just the way you are." Not long after, I found out that on Valentine's Day, Johan had been at the hospital with his pregnant secretary, Linda. He had been trying to convince her to have an abortion, but she refused. Apparently, their relationship had already soured, and they had been arguing constantly. I found the whole thing hilarious. Not long after, Sean proposed to me. I asked, "Aren't you a little young to be getting married? Won't you regret it?" Sean's smile was radiant, his eyes shining like the brightest stars. "Why would I? When you love someone, you can't wait to spend forever with them." I later met Sean's parents. They were warm, kind, and incredibly respectful toward me. I also learned that Sean was much wealthier than I had assumed. The flower shop he ran was just one of the many side projects he started during college. One day, Sean dragged me to the courthouse, and before I knew it, we were officially married. Afterward, he whisked me away on a spontaneous honeymoon. He was practically bouncing with excitement. "Alice, we finally have a home of our own." We moved in together, and for the first time, I felt what it meant to truly belong. Sean's love was patient, thoughtful, and unwavering. He made even the smallest things feel special. For the first time in my life, I knew having a home felt even better than I had ever imagined. And with Sean, I had found the happiness I had always been searching for. I later heard that Johan waited outside my house for an entire day. He kept muttering to himself, "Alice, I was wrong." Like a madman. The police came several times but couldn't make him leave. Unfortunately for him, I had already married someone else. By the time I returned from my honeymoon, a month had passed. The wedding had been planned long before, and everything went according to what I had arranged. Nothing was wasted. I simply replaced the groom. As autumn arrived, the weather turned cooler. I put on a beautiful wedding dress and married the person I truly wanted to marry. That day, everything was perfect. Except for the fact that someone caused a scene outside. Sean was prepared, though. He had hired several security guards to stand at the entrance, so the wedding wasn't affected. After the ceremony, as I was heading to my room to change into another dress, I saw Johan. He was dressed in a sharp suit and had clearly tidied himself up, but it couldn't hide the air of defeat surrounding him. His face was pale, and his voice trembled slightly, as if he were holding back tears. Alice. How did we end up like this? We were perfect for each other. I looked at Johan, my voice calm. Mr. Johan, love can overcome anything, but being perfect together can't. You stopped loving me, that's why you couldn't resist the temptation out there. And I stopped loving you. The person I love now is Sean, so I chose to marry him. Johan asked, is there really no going back for us? I replied, no. From now on, Mr. Johan, it's best if we don't meet privately again. I still have guests to entertain, excuse me. Johan stayed silent for a long time before finally speaking. Alice. I'm sorry. I betrayed our relationship. When we started the company together, I signed an agreement. If I ever cheated, all my shares would go to you. I've already arranged for the transfer. Consider it my wedding gift to you. I hope you won't refuse it. Sean walked up behind me, wrapping his arm around my shoulders with a polite yet unmistakably smug smile. How could we possibly refuse such a generous wedding gift? After all, who would turn down more money? Alice did mention she wanted to buy me a new car. After throwing that jab, Sean effortlessly lifted me into his arms. Are these heels killing your feet? He didn't spare Johan another glance. But once we were far enough away, he held me tightly and whispered, you're my wife now. Don't even think about looking at him again. Okay, I said with a smile, ruffling his hair. After a pause, Sean added, except if he's bringing us more money. After the wedding, I saw Linda storming toward Johan. She was pregnant and had been waiting for me to leave the company and for me and Johan to break up. What she didn't expect was that on the day I got married, Johan would transfer all his shares to me. Johan, what the hell are you doing? How dare you give Alice the company shares? What about the baby I'm carrying? Linda completely lost it. You're broke, you won't marry me, why did you sleep with me in the first place? Johan looked at her coldly. I told you, I never loved you. The only person I ever wanted to marry was her. As he spoke, he glanced toward me, tears quietly falling down his face. Linda, hearing those words, grew even more furious. Quit acting like some tragic hero. If you really loved her, why did you keep delaying the wedding? If you cared so much, why did you jump into my bed the moment I lifted a finger, and keep giving me false hope? Being pregnant and neglected for so long had already left Linda full of resentment. This final blow pushed her over the edge. She grabbed her handbag and hurled it at Johan. Then aimed a kick right between his legs. Afraid something might happen to the baby, Johan didn't dare dodge. Moments later, both of them ended up on the ground. The ambulance arrived quickly, bringing an end to the chaos. Watching the whole mess unfold, I couldn't help but feel a bit amused. Later, I heard that Johan's life was pretty much ruined after that. Linda's baby didn't get medical attention in time, there was oxygen deprivation, and the child's brain suffered damage. Still, it was the only child Johan would ever have. His family drama kept affecting his work. Johan used to think women were just playthings. But now, one of his playthings had turned the tables on him. So, I appointed a new president for the branch office. And gave Johan an indefinite leave of absence to sort out his personal life. Meanwhile, Sean graduated. And I'm going to take my young husband on a vacation. Paid for by the company's profits. The end.